And we are live. Hey, Ania.
Hello.
Okay, so this is our second little workshop.
Live. Hey, Ania.
A second little
Hello.
workshop. Ania, do you have two tabs open on your computer?
I think so. Do I have to close stage?
Okay, so.
Sorry, go again.
I've just closed stage. That's fine. Yeah.
Just have stage open. If you have your other tab open, there's this weird audio thing going to happen, and it'll be the worst presentation we've ever seen.
Okay.
So
Is it working now?
Yeah, you're good now. You're good now. That's cool. Okay, so let's go back. Ania, welcome. You are a performer, you a theatre creator, and you've become a developer, and you've created your first VR, and you had help from the Arts Council, but you also had a lot of help from our community, which hopefully you're gonna touch on that. So I'm gonna hand it over to you, and I can't wait. I'm really looking forward because I've been watching your journey. You've been to our labs back in the day, and I'm excited. So I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Ania, and I'm going to talk to you about my project called Sensosis. But before I do that, just a little bit about myself, how this all kind of came about. So I am I would say, an artist working with storytelling across different medium. I've trained as an actress, I worked as an actress, but I always really enjoyed creating things from the scratch, being involved in creative process. So I've been devising theatre, writing for theatre, producing fringe plays, short films, and somewhere along all of this, I had a chance to play with a VR headset. And since then, as many of the people who work with VR, VR artists, VR creators, I got really excited and I kept thinking, what can I do with this? So 2 years ago, I started to get quite serious about this, and I started to put an application together to Arts Council to apply for research and development grants. And what I've asked them to do, well, what I asked them to do is give me some money to do research about virtual reality, learn about technology. But my ultimate goal was to create my own virtual reality experience, which will have elements of life experience or lifelike experience, but which will bring the actor's performance into VR. So I was successful. I got the grant, and I started working on this year and a half ago. And now this is pretty much wrapped up, and the experience is available on SiteQuest. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it, but I'm going to just play this in the background. These are little snippets of what it looks like, what's happening in it. It's called Sensosis, and basically it's a VR experience where you get to meet this alien who asks an audience for help and needs to learn about human race. What I thought would be useful maybe for those of you who are less technically inclined, like me at the beginning of this journey, is tell you about what I've learned and how I kind of approached the whole process of the research, and how I broke down that kind of development of the VR experience down into chunks that, were kind of workable for a person that, didn't really had much of experience with any of it year and a half ago. So, and as Mark mentioned, the Immersive Artists have been a huge part of the whole journey, because I've been attending the labs and learning about different technologies, and that's been super, super useful, as well as finding some collaborators, but I will touch on it in a moment. So the beginning of the project. So what I've done at the very start is, and I will talk about motion capture quite a lot here. So because my really kind of huge part of learning was learning about how to bring performance and the best type of performance. So, the most fluid, the most natural, the most lifelike performance into VR. So what I've done at the very start was I went to this workshop at Centroid, which was made by Mocap Vault. It was 3 days in this massive studio with optical mocap system, 60 cameras. You know, it was great. The data from this from the system was really, really clean. It didn't really require much of a cleanup afterwards. But what was really important for me was the kind of first time I had exposure to not only the studio, but actually I spent a lot of time talking to technicians there. So it was a kind of speed learning about how the animation and the motion capture works. So for me, what was a really huge learning curve was that the simple fact that the body animation comes from separate system, then face animation, hands, and then you stitch it all together, and then at the end you add voice to it. So when I was starting out, I was kind of hoping that it will be much kind of smoother process, and it's maybe possible with some experimentation to do that all simultaneously and have a live performance, which is possible, but you probably have to have a constant access to this type of technology. You have to have a lot of time, and potentially as well somebody who works alongside with you that is specialist in animation to actually put all of those different elements together. So that was first bit that was a bit of a kind of revelation to me, that, oh, okay, so it's all coming from different parts. It might not be as kind of easy as I thought at the very start. So yeah, that's the kind of optical solutions bit. That was my kind of start of a journey. The next one is I had a play with the aerial capture suit, and that was a very, very useful learning. This is me having go and fun with wearing it and seeing the outputs of the actual motion capture in Unity. And aerial suits are great because they really offer you the kind of budget version of the motion capture. They might require more cleanup in terms of data, what you're gonna get from that than something like Centroid Studio, which has 60 cameras. So, but it's a much more feasible and much more accessible option on a budget. And what was important for me on that day, when I worked with the aerial suit, and actually when I was wearing it, was learning about performance in the kind of motion capture. So if you ever thinking about using it, or having somebody, a performer who never used it before, coming and doing the performance, it is worthwhile giving them some time to adjust and take it in, because you have to be aware, obviously, of everything that you wear, but that especially applies to the face face capture cameras. So it can be quite distracting, because it's really up in your face and you're not supposed to be looking at it. So that's one kind of big thing to get used to. But another bit that I found very, very useful on that day was use of space. So obviously you have to use the space in a similar way as the character will use it in the virtual environment. So you have to remember whatever you're referring to, it is kind of there as well. But more importantly is, in terms of use of space, is how you address your audience. So this is the time where you have to decide whether character will be addressing somebody directly, or is it an auditorium, or is it a mix? What is audience's interaction? Will they be able to walk around the character? Will they be interacting with them? So these are very important things to think through. And for me, the ability of playing with the aerial suit actually kind of opened my eyes to it, that, yeah, I need to kind of really think this through, because once I actually get my motion capture data, this is it. I can't really change it much. I mean, I can, but it's going to require much more effort, you know, in terms of changing the animation. So that is something that has to be kind of carefully planned before the motion capture session. And next I wanted to talk to you about is Kinect. So I've got Kinect at home, and the reason why I decided to give it a go was that there is a lot of kind of hype on Kinect because it is really accessible. It's like maybe £40. So, you know, you can get it really cheaply, have it at home. However, the outputs you can see here, this is a little video of an avatar with applied data from Kinect that I've made. You know, this is me really trying the simplest thing that would not cause any jittering movements. So you can see it's very kind of simple, and I find that for kind of natural movement and anything that is, you know, not stylized or that is not just requiring data points, but you trying to move an avatar in some kind of normal way, Kinect, I found it was quite a clunky solution and would require a lot of cleanup. So what I'm going to tell you about now is about avatars. So the first bit of the project, as you could see, was all about learning different motion capture solutions. And I spent, you know, quite a bit of time learning about them because I wanted to make, you know, an informed choice of what I'm going to use and how this actually works. So eventually I went with the Inario suite. So I've met Ryan, which you're going to see in a moment, on one of the Immersive Arts Labs, and Ryan has the Rococo suite, and so I've decided to work together with Ryan, and we actually recorded the performance using the suite that Ryan has. But before we recorded it, I've created my avatar, kind of test avatar, to be able to do all this experimentation with the different data from different systems, so the Kinect and Inario suites, etc. So, you know, that was a bit of a learning in itself, because it's not only about just creating a puppet that you're going to move, but it's all about as well making it move. So how you're going to make it move. So rigging it, understanding that, you know, body works differently, face works differently. So that was a learning in itself, especially around you know, applying animation to the avatar and making sure it moves in a way that you want it to move. That, for example, suddenly it's not just all hunched or, you know, doing some weird things that the animation is not doing, for example. So I spent quite a lot of time just watching YouTube videos on, you know, kind of Unity classes, you know, how do you actually apply animation onto avatars, and kind of troubleshooting and understanding how, you know, how to kind of marry up the avatar and the rig and the animation. Thankfully, Maximo has this auto rigger solution. So whatever avatar you can throw it in there, have a kind of basic rig, but know the facial expression, I think maybe basic facial expressions, and you have something to work with. So yeah, that gave me something to kind of start working with. So that was really good. And then towards the end of the project, I actually changed the avatar, which still had the same kind of look and feel, but there were some kind of small issues with the material. And I've asked the 3D designer to actually put an avatar for me, so, you know, we have no issues with any sort of kind of weird kind of material appearing and disappearing. So that was, you know, a huge part of the learning about, you know, avatars and rigging and all that. And then I'm going to just play this little animation here in the background, tell you about my journey with Unity. So, you know, by this time I I've already knew about animation. I knew about avatars, and when I was playing with avatars, I started to learn Unity. And obviously, when I wanted to create a working VR prototype of some sort of experience, I needed some sort of environment, something to put my avatar in. So the first thing I did was just start playing with tilt brush, and that was super useful to understand, the shapes, and how do you make things, and then how to bring it into Unity. So what I've spent a lot of time doing is playing around with different assets, creating environments, nothing, too complicated, but, simple things, and understanding how things work, trying to find simple solutions in terms of coding, just some kind of types of timeline that I could just use and make things appear and disappear, or one line code that I could just paste in and make things interact, etc. And that was a kind of huge learning curve, and I've spent a lot of time learning Unity and playing with the 3D assets, and then assembling it all together into working and kind of prototype. So this is a first version of the whole experience, where everything was just kind of made from assets that were already existing, where I bought from something that I painted in a tilt brush. So what I found for that at least worked for me was that the fact that I've learned Unity enabled me to make creative choices, and I felt that if I worked alongside with somebody, a Unity developer, then that really kind of would take away that creative aspect, or as well, I would have less kind of maybe understanding really of how things work, and making choices about how I'm going to make things appear and disappear, or how the story is shown, etc. So for me, I found Unity, learning Unity as a kind of vital experience of doing this and owning it really, and making kind of creative choices. So I'm just going to quickly wrap up with some takeaways. So one thing I haven't mentioned here is the research I did in the background of all this. So I've talked you through all the different parts I did, mock-up, avatars, Unity, 3D assets, and hours of looking at YouTube videos and learning all of this. But I've spent as well a lot of time attending VR experiences that I could find that would have live element. I have to say that when I started thinking about this around 2 years ago, I couldn't really find many things with live interaction. And now in the past year, there was more and more things appearing, especially I think because of COVID. So the Tempest, Dream, and Scarecrow, and Mozilla, and all the festivals that happened. So I went to a lot of things like that, and what I've learned was that when I initially thought about my kind of project, I was really keen, almost I would say right now after all that time, almost like stuck on the idea that I wanted to make as best performance possible. So as natural looking, without any kind of jittering that can happen with motion capture, etc. I want it to be live-like. So I've used, for example, suspense belief in terms of when the alien is talking to the audience, so you have that maybe impression that it's talking to you, you're maybe doing something, etc. But when I've attended all those different live events in VR, one thing I've learned was that everyone has came across the same problem as me, that to make all the elements of motion capture work at the same time, it is quite time consuming. It's quite hard. So a lot of people found ways around it. So either they used only voice or very simple avatars, or maybe only movement, no facial expressions, no voice. So I found with all the best experiences, they always compromised that, what I would call liveness. So that kind of full body performance, that beauty of the live performance. But what I found was that the audience is completely able to forgive all of that as long as the story and interaction works for them. So as long as they're engaged, they have stuff to do, they enjoy the story, none of this is really going to matter, which was I thought was an important takeaway, and I thought I will share this with you, because if any of you are wanting to attempt that, that might be a useful thing to think about. Then the next one is start simple, think simple. So somebody have told me at the beginning of my project, when I was really keen on just streaming live performance, they were telling me, Ania, learn about all this mock-up first, pre-record it, assemble the VR experience. If you're going to really try to do all of everything you want to do, you will get stuck and you will never pass through the technologies. And I found this advice very, very useful, and I find that applies to a lot of VR projects. Just make things simple, and then you can grow and expand and add and make it more beautiful. Then another advice I have, understand various components. So at least for me, this is what worked for me, was spending a lot of time to develop my knowledge about those different technologies, and as well components, how they worked, because that enabled me to make better choices, to have an optimized kind of app, rather than something that's going to take ages to work, etc. So that's quite useful to do, but obviously there's time involved. You will spend time learning about how the 3D assets work, Unity work, motion capture, all that, and many more other things which I haven't learned, and I had some help as well from other creative technologists I work with. And the last advice, I'm sure any of the developers here might agree with this, allow at least 3 more times for any sort of testing or troubleshooting. I found that it's, I don't know if it's Unity or it's as well, part of it is as well my skills, but it takes quite a long time to fix and find solutions for any problems. So allow time if you want to make some sort of prototype of game VR experience, just so you don't stress yourself out too much. So that's all from me. I've put some of my socials here. Please connect, drop me a note, say hello, watch my Sensosis on SideQuest. That would be great. And yeah, that's all from me.
Ania, thank you very much. Big round of applause in the chat. Thank you very, very much. Seeing your journey over that amount of time has just been phenomenal, and you've documented only a small amount in it there. And I do think that you deserve to have a whole session on this. So hopefully Lab 10, which we do in October, will bring you back for that, Ania. But thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
So I'm going to bring Ryan on in a minute, everybody. So I'm going to stop broadcasting for a minute. We're going to get Ryan on. And Ryan, hopefully, if all the technical stuff works, he'll be doing live real-time mocap with the character and a bunch of other stuff. Now, I've not seen this, so this is a world first. So pray to the avatar gods again that this is going to work. So, but thank you. I'll see you all soon.